Thank you all for your patience. I was running from another meeting. So just so happy to be here today to launch this year's 365 Days of Learning and Service. I'm Katie Cowkeenan. I'm Dean of the Norman J. Radow College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And when we came up with this idea about a year and a half ago to celebrate and to do the kind of work on such an important topic, I never knew that it would kind of become what it has. And we're so excited this year to really embrace this year's topic, and that's sustainability. I'm grateful to see so many people here, both in person, but also I know online, who are here to help us launch a really strategic approach to addressing sustainability as we can here at Kennesaw State University, but also in the city of Atlanta and also in the state of Georgia. We have a wonderful guest speaker, Sean Aurora from Georgia Tech, and you're going to hear from him during the presentation today. But first I want to stop and think about what we mean by sustainability. It's often a buzzword. It's often a word that's tossed around pretty lightly, but it really is a commitment to this planet. We only have one planet, and we have a generation coming up and many generations coming up. And unless we do something really soon to change the trajectory that we're on, we're going to be in real trouble. And so both environmentally, socially, economically, we have an opportunity to really turn that around. The theme of sustainability requires that we practice how we meet our current needs. And our current needs are very different from our wants. And so how do we balance what we need today with what the future generation is going to need in terms of our environment and our community? It encompasses environmental pieces, social pieces, economic aspects, and whole aspects of our community. We want to recognize that sustainability is interconnected across these various dimensions. Obviously, the most obvious and evident is carbon emissions and conserving our various resources, whether it's water, oil, gas, etc. But it's also promoting environmental and space justice and ethical economic practices in how we live our everyday lives. This university has a rich history in actively engaging in sustainability initiatives, and we'll hear more about those today. And I'm incredibly proud to be the dean of a college that is so committed to sustainability. We're going to learn about this as it intersects with personal responsibility and social responsibility with respect to sustainability. We have an Eco Owl with us today, and they're going to discuss this program, and they'll speak today about their commitment to sustainability and our world. We also have dedicated staff in the Office of Sustainability at KSU, led by Maria Del Mar Sabalas, my apologies, and this office oversees the efforts on campus to address sustainability and our environment. Additionally, we have a wonderful, wonderful faculty member in Radow. I'm so proud to have Vanessa in this college. She's committed to a number of areas of sustainability, including the food forest that she'll discuss later, but also one of my favorites, and I know the president's favorite, the owl swap. I'm just so amazed by this initiative in particular and its commitment. It's also taken a lot of my clothing that I have grown out of. There are a few examples of how we can engage in these sustainability efforts, and we'll be joined by a number of folks today who are going to talk about those. And in particular, our visitor, Sean Aurora. He's the director of the Candida Building for Innovative Sustainable Design at Georgia Tech, and we're so excited to be able to partner across Atlanta with the work we do. He's going to talk about the unique insights into regenerative design and construction from a global perspective on sustainability. As a tangible commitment to our sustainability goals, I'm proud today that we're going to take a fairly bold step, although I've been at other universities that took this step 15 years ago. I will no longer sign off on or allow any purchase of one-time water bottles in the college. This includes, thank you. This includes state funds for student events, but it also includes foundation events across our departments and schools. And they have already been notified that I will no longer have this. So we want to continue to use the wonderful resources that are in our hallways, as well as providing recycled and sustainable containers, which I see a lot of them on the floor, which I'm excited to see. This pledge is a shared responsibility, and I encourage each and every one of us, faculty, students, and staff, to embrace alternatives, including a whole host of things when it comes to clothing. We can begin to shop at Owl Swap. Together, we can make a meaningful impact on our campus and our community, and we can set the example for the rest of this university to hopefully also drop our addiction to water bottles. Thank you all for coming out today. We will now hear from our speakers and learn about their efforts towards sustainability. Please welcome Dr. Vanessa Slinger-Friedman to the podium.
Thank you, Katie. It's such a pleasure to be here. It is so exciting to me that Radau has chosen sustainability, and really it was everybody coming together to suggest this initiative, so it's very exciting. I'm curious, by a show of hands, so think about this, show of hands, and online feel free to put your little hand up, as we're all used to. How many of you feel the weight of concern over issues related to sustainability? So, right, wow, that's universal in the room, and I'm guessing online it's similar. I did not think that I was, I had a seeking suspicion I was not the only one, put it that way. So that's why I think this 365 Days of Learning and Service initiative related to sustainability is so exciting. And I want to refer to some words on the website where it talks about what is the mission of this. This is so critical. It encourages students, faculty, and staff to participate in learning and volunteer activities. Encourages KSU community to be agents of positive change by turning theory into action. And why I think this is so important is because this is how I live my life. This is my teaching pedagogy at KSU. It's all about experiential learning. It's all about hands-on and applied learning. Taking the theory, taking the concepts that we teach students in classes and and enacting them, applying them. Sorry, my tongue got a little twisted because my mouth is dry. I apologize. So I just think that this hands-on engagement in real-world activities and solutions to sustainability issues that this initiative calls us to do is so important. So I can think of no better example. I have two examples I want to share with you. One is Owl Swap that Katie alluded to. Students are hungry for ways to engage with sustainability, to tackle the issues related to sustainability. And this initiative was born out of a classroom space. Dr. Jason Rhodes, who is here today with us, he is a member on the committee for this 365 Days of Learning and Service. He had a geography of clothing class back in 2017, if I'm remembering the date correctly. And he was engaging students in a conversation with students in Bangladesh. These students had been interviewing garment workers about the impacts of the garment industry on their lives. And the students in the class were so kind of just impacted and inspired by talking to these students who had interviewed garment workers, and also impacted by the knowledge of the damage fast fashion was doing to the earth, that they wanted to do something about it. So what came out of that was a swap of clothing. 30 people showed up for the first Owl Swap. Today, we have monthly Owl Swaps where up to 300 people show up on the campus green, in the student center. Fast forward, we have 2 free clothing closets, one on each of our campuses. We have active workshops, presentations. Yesterday, an advanced Italian class came into the closet. Dr. Scapolo came in with his students because he's teaching an Italian course that he's bringing in aspects of sustainability in all the different areas. And so what I've found is that in teaching, in your pedagogy, it doesn't matter what your discipline is, you can connect to sustainability. Owl Swap has grown into a tremendous initiative. I do want to mention the fact that there's also workshops that relate to upcycling, extending the life of clothing, because it's not just about shopping secondhand, that's very important, but it's also about understanding the impact that what we put on our back daily, it has an impact on the environment and on other human beings. So we do connect to students in many different ways. Federal work study students, AmeriCorps Vista opportunities, internships, research projects, Give Pulse volunteers, so students can come and volunteer at the different events. So there's so many ways for students, faculty, and staff to connect with sustainability through this one initiative. I'd then also like to talk about one other experiential learning initiative that's at KSU and relates to sustainability, and that's the KSU Food Forest, near and dear to my heart. Again, an initiative that came out of a collaboration between myself, Dr. Jason Rhodes, and Michael Blackwell, who's the operations manager at the field station. Do you know 5 to 7 minutes from KSU, we have a field station with lots of active research going on. And the KSU Food Forest is a permaculture sustainability initiative where it's a model where students can come and learn about sustainable agriculture. They can come and actively be a part of growing a sustainable agriculture system, learning about the principles of sustainable agriculture, learning about why it matters, how our food is produced, where our food comes from, how the conditions of people working in agriculture matter, why that's important to sustainability. So it's a living learning lab for students in classes to learn about all of these sustainability-related issues. Many of you might not know that the field station was actually originally a Georgia Department of Transportation cement mixing facility. It is now a thriving, much more fertile system. But why I bring that up is because it relates to the fact that the food forest as a model we would like to implement into urban communities in Southwest Atlanta. This is already being done through a sister organization run by Dr. Rhodes called Good Food Green City, building food forests with high school students. And our students get involved as volunteers with those building of permaculture systems. And so why it's appropriate that the field station was a cement mixing facility is because those are the conditions that many of these urban communities that are food desert communities that lack access to fruit and nuts, to good nutritious food, that's the kind of land that you'd find there. So that's why it's appropriate that the system that we're building, which is about carbon sequestration, which is about soil moisture retention, which is about improving, making better soil, making good food, that's why it's so appropriate that we're doing it there and using it as a model for urban communities in Atlanta. And again, it is a place where students can get involved as federal work study students, as interns, as research students. So many opportunities, again, for students to get involved, as volunteers to build the system. So, and the production of that system, although small at this point, is already going to help KSU Cares, which is a pantry that is available for students in need on campus here at KSU. And again, you find professors, like we had an architecture professor come out and bring their class out there because they wanted to connect to that food system. It was important. There are lessons to be learned related to sustainability in food systems that can be taught at KSU. So these are just two examples of ways to get involved with sustainability at KSU. There are numerous ways to engage with the 365 days of learning and service related to sustainability. I want to leave you with two optimistic thoughts because it's easy to get overwhelmed by the issues, okay? As an individual, KSU is a living learning lab for sustainability where there are opportunities to learn about and practice sustainability in a community of students, faculty, and staff from every discipline. There's just great opportunities to get involved. And also, very optimistically, there's support from our college, from the Radau College of Humanities and Social Sciences. The fact that we can grow a food forest here, the fact that Katie can bring her clothes into the closet, but also give us resources to run that closet, to have shelving, to make the closet a better space for students. That support is invaluable, and it's a very optimistic sign that an initiative like AlSwap and and also the food forest receive those kind of resources. So I leave you with those two optimistic thoughts and invite the next speaker to join us here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maria Ceballos. I'm the director of the Office of Sustainability. I have been here for just a little over a year. I started back in July, and our office turns a year old next month, so really exciting stuff. I want to thank you all for picking sustainability as your topic of the year. It was awesome to hear. I feel like it's a turbo boost for our young office. It's a great opportunity to build community and engagement and excitement around the topic of sustainability. So thank you all for voting for it. Wise choice. Our office is young and forthcoming, but as much as the office is, sustainability is not new to KSU. And I want to make a point of that, right? So the original director of sustainability was Dr. R.C. Paul, which many of you knew. He was here in, I'm going to say, the earlier 2000s. And he was a professor, right? He was a professor of biology. And that's important, right? Because the origin of sustainability at KSU comes from research and academia. And I think that's incredibly important, incredibly powerful, and something that I kind of keep coming back to and want to honor. And I think, just hearing from Vanessa, it's a tradition that has continued, right? So the tie between sustainability and research has been apparent in all these experience and learning opportunities for the students. So very important. I do want to recognize, and I will not give an exhaustive list of all the accomplishments of Dr. Paul, but I do want to recognize kind of 3 benchmarks, which I think we continue to feel the effects of today, right? So there was the sustainability across the curriculum, which was a faculty training program giving faculty the information and resources to teach sustainability in their courses, right? There were several cohorts over several years, and I know, looking around the room, there's a lot of faculty that participated in that, including Vanessa. The second one, so back in 2008, Kennesaw State became one of the early signatories of what was then known as the American College and Universities Climate Commitment, now thankfully just known as Second Nature. The commitment was really committing KSU to target carbon neutrality, right? Pointing us in the direction of carbon neutrality. And we were an early signatory. That was under then President Papp. Since then, or as part of that, as we pointed towards carbon neutrality, Dr. Paul led the creation of the Climate Action Plan. There is a current Climate Action Plan signed back in 2016 that's still active. Like everything else in sustainability, it takes longer than we want it to implement, but that is there. So in following Dr. Paul, the position was created for a sustainability coordinator or a sustainability coordinator under the Office of Facilities. That was Jennifer Wilson, which I know many of you know and stay in contact with. She moved a little closer to home. She's at Georgia State now. And then when my position was created, sustainability was kind of taken back out of facilities and placed under our chief business officer, which really, to a certain extent, honors that tradition of sustainability being something beyond facilities, right? Of giving us the access and the ability to cover much more ground and reconnect to those kind of research and academic based roots. We are still committed to that climate neutrality plan, and I'm excited to share with you all that last semester we did get kind of approval for and launched 3 strategic initiatives around strategic planning for sustainability. The first one was the Sustainability Opportunity Inventory, which I am very happy to say included a lot of your faculty. So that inventory was really geared towards just figuring out how is Kennesaw impacted and ready for and vulnerable to any inclement or upcoming weather changes, and how are we prepared of that? How are we adapting to that? Really, and in its core, a resiliency study. So not a resiliency plan, a resiliency study, right? It was really kind of pointing our mirror to ourselves and learning how are we prepared. And for that, we partnered with the Research Center for Sustainable Communities out of the School of Architecture, but also Dr. Alan Roberts, Dr. June Tu, and Uli Ingram, as well as 3 GIS students who continue to work on that today. In addition to that, we launched the Greenhouse Gas Mitigation Plan. Greenhouse gas is a long way of saying carbon, right? Carbon is not the only gas out there. So greenhouse gas mitigation plan, we've just recently completed our inventory for that, or are nearly completed, more on that soon, which is really meant to help us understand what's our impact in terms of carbon on the environment and what are we going to do about it. And we're just entering the strategic phase. I actually just scheduled a few working sessions with faculty, student, and staff, which again, much of your staff or your faculty and students that are part of, to start looking at what are the strategies to really mitigate our impact. And the third one is a sustainability master plan, which is forthcoming. Look for the launch of that next semester. October is Campus Sustainability Month. I'm just going to use this as a platform to go ahead and market that. October is Campus Sustainability Month. We are launching at least 4 rather big programs, including composting the break room, which we've been piloting for a while. So you may have seen recycling in the village apartments here in Kennesaw, green office program, which I'm really just assuming that all of y'all's break rooms are going to become green offices, right? And the Green Ambassador program, which is geared towards students. Look for those. There will also be lots of opportunities, including several that are shared with the Radel 365 Days of Learning. Part of that turbo boost, right? We get to share on some opportunities. And then, of course, look for us again in April for hopefully the launch of the Sustainability Action Plan. I do want to recognize, as Vanessa said, you all raised your hands. This sustainability stuff can be a taxing thing, right? Environmental anxiety is something that I think, especially the younger generations, are very aware of. I really appreciate that Vanessa mentioned, ending in a note of optimism, because that can be hard. This is taxing work, right? This is it's swimming against the current, it's screaming into the wind, and it can be tiring. And I often, when I feel like that, come back to this phrase that I heard from one of my mentors years ago. And I will tell you, at the time, we were talking about parenting, not sustainability, although the similarities are huge. But it's this idea that sometimes we're just constantly pouring ourselves into this thing that we are passionate about, and that we worry about, and that we care about, and that we feel protective of, and we would, fight for our dear lives for. And that you're just pouring yourself out. And eventually, if you just pour, you're left empty. And that the idea that it's really important to come back and replenish yourself and refresh yourself. And I think opportunities like this are replenishing, right? Being in a room of people who want to hear about this and want to talk about this, that's replenishing. And sometimes it's just calling someone and venting on the phone and just pouring your heart out, and hopefully you're calling someone whose bucket is still full and they can fill you back up and replenish you. I will say we've just heard from one of mine and I am delighted to say we're about to hear from another one. Right? So keep that in mind, right? There's those people that in this community. This right here is an opportunity to build that replenishing community and find optimism and hope in each other. So thank you for this opportunity, and I leave you with my dear friend Sean, the director of the Candida Building. Thanks.
Thank you. I was told I have 3 hours. I'll try to keep this under 2. Show of hands. Who has ever stumbled across a landfill that deers created? Like, deers consume things and then just throw it away and it ends up in a landfill. All right, bears. A bear landfill. So raise your high. Okay. I am no one. I've never met anyone who's stumbled across a landfill created by any other animal besides humans. Why do we poo and pee in drinking water? Yeah, this building has one type of water line that comes into the building, and that has drinking water. And in most commercial buildings, the vast majority of that drinking water is flushed down the toilet. Raise your hand if that makes sense. Look around. Raise your hand high if that makes sense. Okay. I've never met someone who thinks it makes sense to poo and pee in drinking water. So why do we do it? Why do we do so much of what it is that we do when we're the only species that seems to do that? Habit. It's really, I mean, you can call it status quo. It's habit, right? And it makes sense so long as you live in a world of plenty, a world with limitless resources where the well will never run dry. But the well does run dry. The well's actually running dry in front of us right now, actively running dry in places. There's the physical well of water. Cape Town almost ran out of water 3 or 4 years ago. An entire city was on the brink of running out of water. There are countries that are running out of water, right? Atlanta, with as much rain as we get, is the largest metropolitan region in America with the smallest watershed, which means that when rain falls, it just goes away into different streams that end up in the Flint River or the Chattahoochee River or this river or that river. So we actually suffer through a lack of water. So why would we flush it down the toilet? Well, there's a building not that far from here called the Candida Building for Innovative Sustainable Design that goes beyond sustainability towards regenerative, which means it's giving back more than it takes. All right? But buildings and infrastructure, it's the connective tissue between buildings, the roads, the sewers, etc. Buildings really aren't regenerative. Like the Candida building is not going to have little mini Candida buildings. Oh, look at that cute little baby building. Well, when we speak about regenerative buildings and regenerative infrastructure, what we're really talking about is creating space that allows for nature's regenerative systems to thrive. Because at the end of the day, it's really not about protecting the planet. The planet's going to be fine. It's survived a lot worse than humans. It's us that's not going to be okay. And if we just made a little bit of space for the planet to do its thing, you would be surprised at how much the planet will help us. So let me give you some examples. There's this parking lot that used to exist on Georgia Tech's campus, and we ripped the asphalt, recycled it, and replaced it with a building. Big deal. Big deal. You see Midtown, downtown, the Battery, around here. Buildings replace parking lots all the time. But here's the thing. When you come visit the building, you're not stepping into a former parking lot. You're stepping into a forest. Because look behind you. Look out the window. We are in the Piedmont Forest. That's our ecosystem. So why wouldn't we build buildings that function just like the forest? So is it going to rain here? Yes, it's going to rain. And when rain hits the forest, does it immediately become stormwater? No. When rain hits a street or a sidewalk, does it immediately become a flood? Yeah, we call it stormwater. And then we create more infrastructure to move that problem away. But there is no away. So just imagine when it's raining on this campus or any place that you walk, you basically are going to step into a flood. And that flood is going into drains. And that drain is going into a combined stormwater sewer where the poopy water that was fresh water, drinking water that you flush down the toilet, now mixes and it goes to a central wastewater treatment plant where we've paved over so much of our land that the wastewater treatment plants sometimes fail. And now we have poopy water in our riverways. And that's a local equity issue. Why equity? Who lives next to the wastewater treatment plants? It's a local environmental issue. It's a downstream equity issue. It's a downstream environmental issue. And that's exactly how the system was designed to work. What we do in the Candida building is we're thinking regenerative. How would the forest manage rain? Well, the first interaction raindrop has with the forest is with a tree canopy. The first interaction a raindrop has with our building is with our solar canopy. We capture 40% of the rainfall and we store it underground in a cistern. The overflow just goes into the ground. The rain that does make it to the ground meets pervious pavers and pervious concrete and goes into the ground. Then we've got these ditches that they're actually bioswales. When it rains a lot, they fill up. And only when the bioswales overflow do you have runoff? Not stormwater, runoff. Because in nature, if it rains enough, you're going to have runoff. So in that way, the entire site is functioning like the forest. The only question we asked is, where are we? We're in the Piedmont forest. If we were in Arizona, we would be in the Arizona ecosystem. If you just ask the question, where are we? You'd be surprised at how you design to minimize the harmful impacts that we have. Second thing we do, we're net positive energy. What does that mean? That means the building is 80% more efficient than a conventional building. Then it has a 330 kilowatt solar system that it has to be net positive energy. It has to be 105% net positive energy over the course of the year. Let me explain that. Imagine the building consumes 100 kilowatt hours of energy a year. 100 kilowatt hours of electricity. Over the course of the year, we had to prove that we produce at least 105 kilowatt hours of electricity. We've been open for 4 years. Guess how net positive energy we are each year? Guess. Sorry, you're in the front. Guess. Yes, 200. We're 200% net positive energy, which means that the building produces on-site with solar enough electricity to power itself, and then is sending extra electricity to its sister buildings as if it was just powering its twin that had no solar system. So can you get to net positive energy in the South? Yes. Another example, going back to the toilets. Instead of flushing, I mean, come on. There's a lot of potty talk in the Candido building. When you wash your hands, that water, it's called gray water, it's treated in a garden right in front of the building. When you flush the toilet, instead of gallons flushed down the toilet, it's ounces. We have a foam flush toilet system. And when you do your business in the Candido building and leave, your business stays there, and we turn it into compost. That's it. We don't hit the sewer. We don't hit the sewer. Right? I'm going to give you two more examples. We began our life carbon neutral, no carbon impact. During the construction of the building, we utilized materials that have a dramatically lower carbon footprint. For example, wood. Again, look behind you. All those trees are sucking carbon from the atmosphere, and they're storing that carbon in their body. And so when you cut down that tree and mill it into a building material, you're displacing the need for carbon-intensive steel and concrete. And our trees are local. They were milled here. They were sustainably grown. And that's just one of the ways that we got our carbon footprint so low that we just had to buy a one-time carbon offset for additive solar in India. Right? So that's it. We began our life carbon neutral. And one of the last questions. Who's seen a new building being constructed? Do you see a giant dumpster in front of that new building? Yeah. There's a giant dumpster in front of it. What's in that dumpster? Maria, what's in the dumpster? Packaging, scraps, wood scraps, tile. Who pays for the stuff in the dumpster? The building owner. Now, does that sound like rational market behavior? That a building owner pays the contractor money and watches the contractor throw their money away? It's not rational, is it? Except it is, because it's cheaper to pollute than to not pollute. Or put another way, we subsidize pollution. Because why would anyone tolerate a contractor throwing their money away? The Candido building diverted more waste from the landfill during construction than we sent to the landfill. 0.5% of the building's waste was actually thrown away. Going back to the deer and bear example, we shouldn't be creating waste. And then we virtually mined the landfills and diverted perfectly good reusable material from the landfill and incorporated that into the building. So it's like the owl swap, but like for building materials, right? So I'm going to summarize real quick. 0 stormwater impact. We don't hit the sewer. We began our life carbon neutral. We are net positive energy, net positive water. I haven't even talked about the indoor air quality, right? Ultimately, the question comes down to cost. Well, we've already kind of established that we subsidize pollution. I'm going to ask 2 more questions. Raise your hand if you think the price of water is going down in the future. Look around. No one has ever raised their hand. I'm going to ask another question. Raise your hand if you think the price of electricity is going down in the future. A few people sometimes raise their hand, but we know in Georgia it's not. If you are a campus like Georgia Tech, Kennesaw, the government, and you are building a building for long-term ownership, 100 years, 150 years, 40, 50 years, and we all agree that the price of water is not going down, the price of electricity is not going down, why would you not prioritize what we have done with the Candida building as a non-negotiable goal? It's because we look at first cost and don't think about long-term ownership cost. If you don't prioritize energy efficiency and water efficiency today, you are locking in increased operating expenses, and it's going to be a lot harder for you in the future. What that means for Kennesaw and any other institution is that you're going to have less money for student programming, you're going to have less money for faculty pay, you're going to have less money to compete with campuses that have been doing this for 15 years or longer. So I'm going to end on a positive note. You are the customer of Kennesaw State University, students. You have a tremendous power in your voice. Use it and demand that we just do what's best for the university, which is invest in energy efficiency and water efficiency today. Thank you very much. And we have a student speaker.
All right, I promise I'll make this short and sweet. Let's see. All right, so my name is Christian Thomas. I am a junior here at Kennesaw State University. I am an entrepreneurship major, environmental studies minor. I feel like I value the importance of interdisciplinary learning, which we can see across all of our speakers how there's different aspects of what they do that overlap with different industries and different like majors. So I'm the treasurer for Eco Owls, so I manage all the money. I try to, at least. We are a club that promotes sustainability amongst our students on campus. We value eco-friendliness, education, community, and sustainability. And the community part, I think, is something that we really need, that we really focus on, and that we really, really value. With a university as big as us, and growing with 40+ thousand students, when commuter students and on-campus living, we're growing every year. So it's important for people to feel the community that maybe a smaller school would have. So we have weekly meetings every week on Mondays, and we have new students who come every time, and we invite them with open arms and really hope to inspire them to feel the importance of sustainability, especially in this day and age and in our generation. I think a lot of the time, especially people either like millennials or Gen X, or Gen Z, sorry, we are asked, like, we are put on our plates, I guess, that our generation is the one that is supposed to change everything. And I think that can be very overwhelming, very difficult for a lot of us to kind of understand and conceptualize. So I feel like Eco House is a great place for students to come and kind of share that community that my fellow speakers were talking about, and having your buckets filled again, because it's a very, very overwhelming problem, and you're already dealing with school and a job and all these different political issues that really shouldn't be political. They're human issues, and they're things that we all deserve. So I kind of want to talk about some of the things that we do in our meetings. We have different things that we do across our different meetings. Since we have meetings every week, we try to switch it up all the time. A lot of times we have games, so we do Jeopardy, and really try to educate our fellow students about the things that are going around in this world, things that are going on campus. There's so many resources on campus that students don't know about, so we try to advocate as much as possible for that. We have guest speakers who come either from departments, or we have alumni who come to our meetings and talk about the stuff that they are doing and the role that they had at EcoAls or at this university. We also have people inside our clubs who have like passion chats, and they come to our meetings and talk about things that they're passionate about involving sustainability. And we try to make it interactive, so we usually have either like we're painting like flower pots and planting things, or we're making seed bombs, which you'll see during our Earth Week tabling next semester. We also have a lot of volunteering events, and we have different things that are on campus and off campus that we do. So on campus, sometimes at meetings we'll do campus cleanups because we know we all have our issues, and sometimes either trash slips out of our bag or people don't have the awareness that all of us, I think, in this room do to be responsible and accountable for your actions. So we go, especially on Frey Road, and it's a busy street, so we go and clean up there at ARC, and at the student housing behind us, we do cleanups as well. And then we have cleanups at local lakes, like Lake Nelson and Lake Allatoona, that we partner with different departments and professors and get students out there on the weekends and help kind of clean up our environment, clean up our community. And then we have bigger kind of field trips that we've done. We've gone to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and we've talked to the people there and seen what they're doing when it comes to sustainability. They've really become some kind of lead advocates for sustainability, especially in that huge industrial space. So like when you go to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you'll see that a lot of the or all the trash or trash cans that you would think were just trash are compostable. So they've really tried to advocate for that as well, and we're hoping to go back there again to learn more about what they're doing. And then we also have just fun things, going back to the community. We really want to make this a fun environment where people are learning and people want to share this with others. They want to invite their friends to our club. So like later on this semester, we're going to go pumpkin picking and just have some fun. We've done a bunch of different things over the course of the many years that EcoHouse has been a thing, where we're just having fun. We're playing games. Maybe it's environmentally related, maybe not, but we're just really kind of trying to build that community so people come back and want to kind of share in this experience. We've also won the Civic Engagement Student Group Award last semester. That was a big deal for us, going back again to the community and how we really want to engage our students. We really want to engage our community inside campus and outside campus to really show that this is an important issue that we as students feel we have the responsibility to kind of advocate for, and that we have a true I guess but like we can vote with our actions and our money especially. I think that's one thing that a lot of people come to our clubs, our club meetings, and are like, sustainability is such a big issue. How do you solve that? And that's not the question that we're trying to answer. We are for advocacy and education, and really trying to get students to understand that it starts with you, and you're not going to change everything, and we're not as a club going to change anything, but we can start with something, and that's either voting with your dollar, with either shopping secondhand or just going to the Owl Swap and saving money. or going to the food forest and getting produce there instead of going to the grocery store, or buying sustainably from the grocery store. So those are just some of the things that we try to teach and educate our students about, so that they see that it's a big problem, but there's small things that you can do in your day-to-day life to change the habits that you have, to hopefully create this world and make it a better place. So yeah, thank you.
I want to thank all of our speakers today. I feel so much more optimistic about the future and what we can all do individually, but as communities, and particularly the community here at KSU. I am really honored to say that this is the official kickoff of this year's 365 Days of Learning and Service, in which we are going to learn and serve as it comes to sustainability. As noted, we have an exciting lineup of learning experiences for the university community, but also the wider community in Atlanta. These include tours of the food forest, a sustainable food drive in November. It's not written here, but I want to continue our toiletry drive that we've done with United Way of Greater Atlanta, a wonderful partner. Last year we did a drive in which we provided toiletries to those experiencing housing insecurity. And so I want to continue that, but with the lens on sustainability. So this will take a lot of research working with the partners to be able to identify the kinds of products that we probably should all be purchasing to support ourselves, but also those experiencing housing insecurity. And last but not least, I do want to get us ready for next year. So as we work this year to both celebrate and also to learn more about sustainability and connect to last year's topic on housing insecurity, there's a natural connection. We'll be continuing the discussions, particularly around sustainable communities and sustainable neighborhoods. We're hoping to bring back someone who talked about the impact of VRBOs and other types of one-night and multi-night rentals and what they've done to some of our communities and dislocating folks. And so this is an ongoing connection. Next year, we will be kicking off 365 Days of Learning and Service, mental health awareness. This is an incredibly important issue, particularly as we've come out of COVID, but it's a growing and important issue for college campuses in our communities. And we will be planning a year of further knowledge and service in this area as well. So please stay tuned for that. So on behalf of the Norman J. Radow College of Humanities and Social Sciences, I want to thank you for both your individual, but also the role you'll take in a community commitment towards sustainability. So just real quick, if there's any questions or anything you want to add to the conversation, the committee meets. Dr. Chen, who's hiding over in the corner, is going to be leading that group this year. And so any activity, any initiative that we have not yet thought of that you think would be important. As I was sitting listening, I'm excited to contact Mercedes-Benz and to bring together a panel from Georgia Tech and Mercedes-Benz and perhaps another large commercial endeavor to be able to talk. If these large companies, universities can do this work, thinking long-term about reducing our footprint and reducing long-term costs, I know that we can expand that. So I'm definitely going to be reaching out to Mercedes-Benz and to be able to try to bring that panel together. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Dean Kalkinen. Thank you all so much for coming here today. We have a reception. If you want to stick around to interact with our speakers, it would be wonderful. It's on the other end of the hallway on the Honors College side. So yeah, thank you so much. If you want to head that way, we have some food and recyclable, sustainable tumblers for you all. Thank you.